Hello, Polygon here again. Again, it is entirely possible that I might have to make this a two-part reading, although it will be a much shorter reading than the last reading that I just did. So, what is happening here is it is electric with a K667.tumblr.com. It's tumblr.com for those who are not familiar with the random words that I use to represent other words that are real. They donated a little money, thank you. And it was also their birthday this past week. So I will be giving you a reading that is a seven-card reading in the shape of universal hexagram with a card in the center. So it is your solar return, and the hexagram is generally associated with the sun. That's why we're going to do that. And the card in the center is just sort of kind of the focal point that everything sort of explodes from, like Big Bang or whatever. So I have shuffled the shit out of these cards whilst encouraging the anarchist accountant to take his time getting here while I do this. He has at least two things to do before he comes here on a bicycle down a gigantic hill known as Powell Street. Pray for him. I've seen him ride a bike, it's terrifying. So anyway, back to you. Happy birthday, happy solar return, etc. Thank you for donating, and I am sorry that I couldn't get to this on your birthday proper. But on the day of the sun, you will get a hexagram of your sun. It'll be freaking awesome. You'll really like it. So I'm going to cut this for you. It's a pretty straightforward cutter. Here we go. We go bonk. We go bonk. We go bonk. We go bonk. And we're going to go woo woo. Gotta make sure that all of these were alone. And they are. And then we go bonk. And then we go ooh. Save that one. So here we go. We got your little hexagram. We'll read it like a universal hexagram, which is universal because it is one point that doesn't leave the paper. Most hexagrams are two triangles intersecting triangles. The universal is one line that makes similar, 6-point star shape. So anyway, here, and we'll start from the peak here. Here at the peak we have the Five of Cups, disappointment. So all fives are the microcosmic or human number. If you stand up, stick your arms and legs out, you make a 5-point star. So this is sort of the emotional limitations of people, the microcosmic, smaller things. If you could excuse me for 1 minute, I find it really creepy that there's no music and it echoes in here. This will be the second reading in a row that I've had to get up and do things in the middle of. So just enjoy the sweet sound of my voice and pray that it won't take long, which it didn't. So, back to the card peak, Five of Cups, disappointment. This is basically being disappointed by your ability to connect emotionally and otherwise to folks and for them to be able to connect to you. This is Mars in Scorpio. Mars is war, going out there and fucking conquering shit, taking shit. And Scorpio I like to consider sort of the dark water toward the bottom of a moving current where silt's being kicked up and you can't see things very clearly, you just get general outlines and shapes of things. It's mystical water. So this is sort of like not really knowing like where you're going emotionally because you can't really see things clearly. Recognize that you have limitations and that other people do too. But work out like where you are and how to go beyond where you feel, disappointed. There's only so much that you and other people can do emotionally. So coming down to the first card in the line is a 20, the Eon. So the Eon, this is Shin, fire. The Eon is the idea that, like humanity itself, we each have periods in our lives of different levels of understanding. You understood, as a child, you understood as a child. As a teenager, you understood as a teenager. In your 20s, you'll understand, and then these different periods. I mean, some people don't really, see things a whole lot differently, but there are certain sort of, periods that you go through that naturally happen where you are forced, basically, to change your perception of things. This is something that happens. It's not something that you make happen. It's something that is internally, externally. It is all created through fire and blood and a whole new way of basically figuring out how to do things. This is the fire. In the foreground of the card, we have in the International Sign of Silence, which is to say, during this upheaval, this is not trying to over-intellectualize it. This is not trying to run your mouth about what's happening. This is a meditative process where you're figuring out, where you move from here. It's a good card to have on your birthday. It's coming to a whole new way of understanding things, so you can do things in a way that is more appropriate to the age, not linear age, but the age that you live in. So, moving up to the next card, we have the Nine of Cups, happiness. I call this the mutually beneficial relationships card. Here you have the 3x3, because 9 is 3 threes. So in the card you have each cup has its own source, and according to the way that they are lined up, flowing into each other. So the cups on the top are flowing into the cups on the bottom, but everyone has their own source. The reason I call this the mutually beneficial relationships card is that this is, all the nines are the real building toward, and this is building toward happiness by arranging the plethora of emotion into a way that is most beneficial, that is back and forth, where it doesn't feel one-sided either way, like you're always giving or you're always taking. This is really working from a place of healthiness, where everyone has their own thing, but it also works together. So, coming down again, we have in the bottom V here, we have the Four of Discs power, or the fortress. This is the sun in Capricorn. Capricorn is the goat fish. The goat being of high places, the fish being of low places. And this is, Crowley mentions the passage in Liberal about the fortress, the island, choosing an island, fortified, don't get involved with the engineering war, I'll give you a war engine, etc. And this is, I like to call this the castle. So this is the square material world thing. This is having your island. This is having your space with the fucking moat around it and the your little drawbridge thing. So when you're ready to go out in the fields and the surrounding area, mingle with the peasantry and see what's going on beyond your little walls, you can go out and leave, but you have a protected sort of the heart of the land that you can go into and then seal yourself off and be protected. And feel protected, feel strong in what you're doing, and having your own space helps you feel strong and balanced in your material world. Speaking of balance, up here, the next point in the line, we've got adjustment. 2-8 adjustment. This is Libra, Lamed. Libra is the scales and balance. This is, sort of, Our Lady Justice has slits in her blindfold, she can see. She holds the sword of the magician, which is the mind, and the sword is pointed down. This is not the blind justice wildly swinging, hacking off various limbs of whoever was unfortunate enough to get too fucking close to her. This is the lady, or the person of balance, who is balanced. She's actually standing on her tiptoes around with the sword. She has alpha and omega in her scales. So this is the higher order rebalancing. And in order to get balanced, sometimes you got to take a little shit off one end or add a little shit onto the other end to get balanced. Sometimes you got to get rid of some stuff or you got to rearrange things. The final point that we come to here is the Six of Wands victory. So, the sixes are basically the kind of idealized version of any suit. In this case, it's fire, action, fucking doing stuff. Here you have fucking Jupiter, the astrological attribution here is Jupiter in Leo. Jupiter is expansive. Leo is expanding, expansive. And so this is sort of about your influence being very, like forward driving, that sort of like Leo pride in what you're doing, but it's the pride because what you're doing is the best organized for you. This is trying to put things that you're doing together and just your actions, the behaviors that you have, the ways that you go about doing things. This is sort of starting to feel good about like what you're doing because you're setting things up in the way that you do things the best. The center card here, this is sort of what's like, this is like the Nucleus. Prince of Wands, the fiery part of air. This is akin to those fucking crazy forest fires that we have here in California all the time. This is the raw force of fire, with a little wind picking it up and blowing it on across some highways to burn up some other shit. This is basically like tearing ass through what you're doing by, I guess this would be thinking about what you're doing while you're doing it. So this is being mindful of your behaviors and your actions. This charioteer holds a wand with some power in it, and he's got his reins here. He's holding them, he's driving it, but he's got a V8 engine. I know fucking nothing about cars. They're V10. He's got a fucking sweet engine, man, and he is killing it through things because he's being mindful. He's going fast, and he's getting it done, but he's seeing things as they come and sort of working it out on the fly, like what he's doing, the behaviors that he's taking. And there might not be a huge destination set for this guy, but he's still going along and doing it, making it happen. So this is, the center here is think about the things that you're doing, act in a mindful way that's still moving you on, where you're still moving, you're moving fast and you're accomplishing things. So, the general wrap up here is you are limited by being human. Other people are limited by being human, and your relationships and your emotions should not have this sort of defeatist disappointment aspect to them because it's just the way that people are, and you can only improve or move on. Have your own space, have your own way of doing things, have your own space, have your own material, real world time space carved out for you so you can feel that protection and that power in your material world stuff, because you got a lot of balancing and reorienting relationships and sort of this cue across the spread from each other. You have this new information on the way that things are in your life that then helps you build things to be more ideal for the way that things are. You're experiencing a lot and you're going to have to take it as it's coming, but be mindful of it. Don't be like, oh, I want to get past this shit, I need to move the fuck on like as quickly as possible. This is sort of sitting with it, you're moving. You're definitely moving through things, but this is, taking things as they come. This is sort of, being in the moment, so to speak, because you're in the fucking moment. You might as well deal with it reasonably. So, that's it. That's for elektrik667.tumblr.com, Electra with a K. I'm about to post their Ask thing from earlier anyway, so you can check out their URL. Cool blog, mutual follower, whatever. Happy birthday, thank you for the donation. Holy mountaineering, sort of outish, or whatever. but I'll probably like back later. I don't know. You know how to